Welcome back everybody to another silent film review in the marathon, and this time we'll be looking at Nosferatu on Masters of Cinema. Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, came out in 1922, and since it's been chilling people with its strange atmosphere and its very famous sequences such as the famous shadow scene. Blah, blah, blah. Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, came out in 1922 Germany and is directed by Fw Murnau, who is famous for other films like The Last Laugh and Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. Now, Fw Murnau is one of the most famous silent film directors. I've seen Sunrise and The Last Laugh and Faust, but I can't remember anything from it. Look forward to seeing his other films. But Murnau is one of the best directors there is, full stop I would say, for his craft. Sunrise is also a classic film, but moving on to Nosferatu, full of German expressionism and still extremely chilling to watch today. From the shadows to the set designs, you can definitely see German expressionism in here, reminiscent of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which kind of started it at the time. Nosferatu is absolutely one of the most fascinating silent films to watch, and that's because of what it stands for and how chilling and eerie it still manages to be so many years on. The studio Prana Film started for this film. This was their first and last film because this was an adaptation of Dracula, as some may know, by Bram Stoker, and it is said that the daughter, I think it was the daughter or the cousin or something like that, sued the company for intellectual property theft. So the company went bankrupt and basically the film went into the public domain. So yes, you can see this film on YouTube and it's not illegal, but I seriously recommend seeing it in an edition like this. So yeah, it's very fascinating to think that that is the first and last film from Prana Films. Just imagine what they might have made if they didn't go bust at the time. As I said, it's an adaptation of Dracula, but not a direct one. It's more of a loosely based type one. There's changes in the names, for example. Count Dracula is called Count Orlok. Jonathan Harker, the person who goes to the castle, or his house, his mansion, is now named Hutter. Renfield is just called Knock, a property agent. So yeah, there's some similarities with the names, but at its core, it is very similar to the famous Bram Stoker novel. I haven't read it, but I do know the core story, of course, which we all know the story of Dracula, with the countless adaptations, one of the most notable being the 1931 film with Bela Lugosi. But this is probably one of the best Dracula films there is, because it's almost like saying it's the original. I believe it is the first Dracula adaptation, if not one of the first. Another very interesting thing is that the actor Max Schreck, who plays Nosferatu, Count Orlok in the film, apparently he got the casting of the film for just being ugly. So he was very fitting to the part. I couldn't imagine someone else playing that character, because he definitely plays it well. So yeah, imagine that. Beauty isn't everything when it comes to getting casted for a film. The name may ring a bell to those that have seen Batman Returns, Max Schreck, because that is the Christopher Walken character in Batman Returns. Tim Burton was very heavily influenced by German expressionism, films like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. There's a huge similarity between Edward Scissorhands and the character in Caligari, Caligari's creation. I had to make another video on that, about the Tim Burton German expressionism influence on Tim Burton, because I think it's very interesting. He also writes about it in his autobiography. But as I was saying, yes, German expressionism was very influential for his style, which you can definitely see if you look at films like this, with the use of shadows and just a dark kind of story, a Frankenstein story. You know, that's what Edward Scissorhands is about. That's what Frankenweenie is about, which he now has a animated version of. So yeah, it's interesting to see the influence it had in Tim Burton. So I'd say, if you're a Tim Burton fan, check out what's influenced his work, definitely. But yes, the atmosphere of the film is unbelievable. The music score is very well done, and the blue tinting, and the set design, and the characters, and just the way everything happens, it's very chilling and eerie. It's still one of the most eerie horror films there is, and that's amazing that it can keep that impact 80 years on. 82 years on now. That's a lot of years, isn't it? So yes, it's definitely a brilliant film. Now moving on to what's in the package. The booklet, as usual, is very good, and there's a really interesting essay in here about how Nosferatu represents fear itself, which is a very interesting reading into it. One way that I like to look at it is the Jonathan Harker character, known as Hutter in the film, of course. He's a very naive but very joyful person. You can see his happy little life with his wife at the start of the film. You know, he's very cheerful and up about everything, it seems. So he's definitely a naive character. And then once he is sent out to visit Count Orlok, he begins to learn what fear is. So you can see how that is his development of what real fear is. And that's one way to look at it. There's tons of ways to look at it. And there's all different stuff about cults that's talked about in this. I haven't read the whole booklet. Some of it just sounded a little too distant from the film. It just felt like very dry writing, but you know, that's just me. So it's definitely worth a read through. There's also some nice images in here, of course. Let's see if we can show some. And there's the famous arc scene. And we've got the nice image on the back of him disappearing. I love this picture also. The shadow that's casted over the houses there. It's very nice. That sums up German expressionism, I would say. Shape and style and tone. There's also a great inside artwork here of Max Schreck. I think that image looks great. Very creepy. 2 discs, yes, because it's dual format, which is always good. As for the special features, there's plenty in here. I apologise if there's too many jump cuts in this, just my cat's doing my head in here, it keeps jumping in and out, it's completely wild. But anyway, moving on, yes, there's a very interesting documentary in there, a 53-minute documentary that I haven't watched all of it yet, but it's about the making of the film. There's also a little introduction, film talk with one of the film historians who talk about the film, what it stands for, and a little bit of background of Murnau. In terms of bonus content, this one is quite packed, and it makes it worthwhile buying on Blu-ray. I was very happy to get the Steelbook for £12. You can get it for about £15, I believe, on Masters of Cinema's website. So definitely check that out. Highly recommend this purchase. I think it looks absolutely great. One of my favourite Steelbooks from Masters of Cinema for sure. Overall, Nosferatu is easily an essential set of film to watch, and I really recommend it if you haven't seen anything yet. And as I said, if you're a Tim Burton fan, this is going to be very interesting for you to see, because then you can start to compare the style to some Tim Burton films. And if that interests you, check out the Calendar of Dr. Caligari as well. I would be reviewing that in the marathon, but I want to wait until it comes out in the cinema over here, late October, and the Masters of Cinema Blu-ray, which is coming out later this month. So I'll be sure to review that too. That's it this time, everybody. Stay tuned for more Silent Film uploads. If you liked it, comment and subscribe and all that jazz. Always appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.